It's 12:20. Same thing what we started with last week. Raise your hand if you've read the Bible this week or prayed at all. Let's see. It should be everybody, because if you're going to small group and everything, you should at least have that. So, okay, good. It's increasing in number, so that's good. Let's see. Because if you're going to small, the next thing I'm gonna call. I think I've called most of the small group leaders, telling us about last week's message. I don't know if I've called Kyungwon yet. So, can you tell us about last week's message at all? Is she back there? Oh, is there anything, the title even, anything you remembered from last week's message? Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go to announcements real quick. So last week we had our first social event, and it went well. It was well attended. I think there was like at some point there was between probably 15 to 20 people, I think. So that was good. Although it was rigged, because I was never the the imposter, and I got killed within 7 seconds each time. So I had very little fun, but everyone else seemed like they had fun. So please remember to continue to know that it's the first Sunday of every month. So the next one, along with that theme, is going to be March 7th. So Sunday, March 7th, and then Kyo and Cheon are going to lead that one. Do you guys have any ideas right now about what we're going to do at all? It's okay if we don't. I'm just curious. Okay. All right, and so everyone in Kyo's group and Cheon's group, the small groups, you guys can, if you guys have ideas, you can bring it up to them. Remember, it has to still be socially distanced and safe. So please keep that in mind. And we have some overdue birthdays. I don't know if Chepir watches, but his birthday was January 25th. So we're trying to remember everyone's birthday. I'm not sure how old he is. And Taeyeon's, this is way overdue, was January 8th. So happy birthday. We have no February birthdays, it seems like, in our list, which is interesting. Okay, and then let's see. For the small group, it seems like everyone's been doing a pretty good job attending, or at least communicating. Of course, everyone has things that happens in your life, but please communicate with your small group leader, because they might be planning things, and it depends on the number and things like that. So please, even if you can't make it, please, I know Yubin just said he can't make this week, so he'll let his leader know. So if you can't make it, definitely let them know. The worst thing is to just not respond at all. That's always hard for the leader to do that. Okay. All right, I think that's pretty much the whole thing. All right, so let's see. Today's Valentine's Day and President's Day's weekend. That's why I'm wearing the pink shirt. I don't see anybody else wearing pink again. That's why, or red, or Lunar New Year as well. So there's kind of a lot going on. I think most of the younger kids like it because there's no school on Monday. I think for President's Day, there's none in Indiana. I'm not sure here. I think there's no school. All right. So with that theme, last night with the Valentine's Day theme, Ethel and I watched To All the Boys I've Loved, the third one, the last and final one. I don't know if anyone here watches that. Raise your hand if you've watched any of them. To All the Boys I've Loved series. Okay. All right. Everyone else is lying. I know some of these high school boys have seen it. Anyways, so it's a good movie. We finished off the last one of the series. And it was, I liked it. I thought it was well done. They actually went to Korea this one, which was kind of cool, to show off parts of Seoul. And I thought they did a good job. That's a good movie, but parts of Seoul. And I thought they did a good job. That's a good movie, but usually I like kind of watching military stuff, and I don't know if this is a more mature theme, but my favorite show ever of all time is a show called Band of Brothers on HBO. It's definitely a mature theme, so it's not for middle schoolers. But now I'm watching a show. These are kind of old shows. The Pacific. That's a show they're both about World War II. Band of Brothers is about Germany, and then the Pacific is kind of about the fight with Japan. But I really like these shows, and the thing I think it's very relevant to today is I think the military is so unbelievably fascinating in the sense that I mean, if you have a leader, you follow them like no matter what. So if you watch these shows, their training is it's the Marines that they're following. It's crazy. They have to walk in mud for like days at a time. They have blisters, they're bleeding. If your commander tells you, hey, this is your job, that's your job. You don't ask, you don't say anything, and you do it. And some of these jobs, they literally know they're gonna die. So I thought that was so fascinating to see that. And some of it changes on the fly. Like, for example, let's say you're a group of 10 soldiers and you have a commanding officer and you guys are fighting, and then that commanding officer dies. So 10 of you are left. Someone else is appointed right away to lead the group. So you could go from like in 1 second from having this person be the officer and you following their orders to that person no longer being an officer and someone right away, becoming the officer. And when that happens, they don't question, oh my gosh, this guy's my friend, but now he's above me, I have to listen to him. As soon as that change of command happens, they listen. And I think another thing that's very interesting about that is that, these people come from all walks of life. So if you look in the military, right, there are people who probably come from very wealthy families, people who come from, poor families, people who come from immigrant families, people who come from families who have been here for years. But when you're in the military, it doesn't matter, right? It's your rank that determines everything as far as who you listen to and everything. So, and I think he left, but Hanan was saying that, he's going to go into the military, so he'll have even more insight into this. But I think that just that structural command is so interesting. And the reason that's relevant today is if you look at the passage today in the first point, right, we're talking about characteristics of the disciples of Jesus Christ. Characteristics of the disciples. And in Matthew 10:1, it says, Jesus selected 12 and he gave them authority to drive out demons. And he also gave them authority to heal disease. And if you look at the 12 disciples, their jobs, they range. Some of them, they weren't sure. I was trying to look at what all their jobs were. They knew some of them were fishermen. So at that time, if you're a fisherman, you're kind of like a blue-collar worker. Some of them were, one was a tax collector. A tax collector, you can kind of think about someone who's in finance, probably has money. I think they were saying one of them might have been a politician, and so he was in government in that way. And the other ones, they kind of had all sorts of jobs. The reason I'm bringing that up is if you look at the 12 disciples, they ranged, right? And none of them, besides maybe the one tax collector, was really what we call like a powerful person or someone who's really well respected in society. But those are the 12 that Jesus selected, right? And that wasn't an accident like, oh, let me just randomly choose 12 people to become my disciples. These were people that not only would serve Jesus when Jesus was alive, these were the people that after Jesus died established the church that we serve today. And I think it's really important because some of you guys, and I hear this all the time, not just at this church, just in life in general, is I'm not ready, I'm too young, I'm not prepared, I can't be and you can apply that to anything. You can apply that to work, you could apply that to leadership. But in this case, you could even apply that to being an evangelist, to being a disciple. Some of you guys will say, I don't know the Bible enough. Some of you will say, I don't, worship enough. I don't know what to say. I don't know what words to use. I don't know how to do evangelism. I don't know how to be a disciple, right? There are a lot of excuses that can be made. But if you look at the first 12 disciples that were chosen by Jesus, they probably felt the same way, right? None of them were super ready. None of them were spiritual leaders who are ready to take that leap. But those are the people that Jesus called. And I think that's really important because, and I've heard this so many times, especially having been raised in the church and trying to bring leaders in the church, the people are always saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I don't think I can do it. And it's not just the youth. The adults are the same way, right? And so I want you guys to kind of flip your switch there and thinking, hey, maybe I am ready. Maybe I don't have to be ready and God can still use me. I think that's really important. But you could also apply that to other things, that boldness, that like, I'm not ready to take on that leadership. I'm not ready to take on that role. I think challenge yourself and believe that Jesus can do those things in you. And then the second thing, after you're called and you know that you're a disciple of Christ, you have. And in Matthew 10:6, it talks about, preaching to the lost sheep. And we talked about that a little bit last week about the sheep. And everyone here has different sheep. Everyone here has a different field, right? So some of you guys are in school. Some of you guys work. Some of you guys are in extracurriculars. Some of you have different groups of friends. Everyone here has a different field, but everyone here does have a field. And some of you might say, oh, I don't have a field at all. Everyone here has family members that, don't believe in Jesus, probably. Everyone has friends that don't believe in Jesus. And then if you keep going forward, everyone has their own kind of field that they have. And I think that's really important, because sometimes when we hear, we think about Acts 1:8 and being an evangelist to the ends of the world, I think sometimes people think evangelism, right? International evangelism in, parts of the world where they don't have the Bible, where they don't, know Jesus. But evangelism, that is evangelism. But evangelism is also in the circles that you have and in the friends and family that you have. And I think that's really important, because, you have to know your field to know, how you're going to reach them, and what you're going to do. And the easiest way, Pastor mentioned this today, to do evangelism is you yourself have to enjoy the gospel. You yourself have to enjoy being a Christian. And I think that's very, very, very important, because I will tell you, you cannot do evangelism if you yourself don't enjoy the gospel, And we've talked about this before, but if you have a product, right? Like for example, on Amazon, if I bought a product on Amazon and I don't like this product, right, I'm going to leave a bad review so other people can say, hey, this is not something to buy, right? But at the same time, there are products that I've bought that I talk all the time about. So for example, I'm trying to think, I bought a toilet light. I think this thing it's like $7. I think it's life-changing. It's like motion detected light. You just put on your toilet. So, when you have to go to the bathroom at night, you don't have to turn on the light very bright, and it shows you the toilet. You don't have to get blinded. I've told many people that I bought this thing, that it's awesome, that it's changed my life. And it's something so simple, but it's because I enjoy it, I'm able to tell other people about it, right? If I didn't enjoy it, I hated it, kept breaking, it didn't help me at all, then I wouldn't talk positively about it. The same with the gospel, the same with evangelism. You yourself have to enjoy it first. If you don't enjoy it, then you can't share with other people. And I think part of that is the words that you guys choose to use. And this is something I truly believe. And I tell this to Ethel all the time. I believe that and I tell this to my patients all the time. I truly believe that words become action. And so some of you, I hear you guys talking, oh, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm nervous all the time, no matter what time of the year it is, no matter how much you slept. It's like that's always out of your mouth, And I think that's actually really important, right? Because the words that you say, number one, other people listen to that, right? If you're always like around your friends, man, I'm stressed, I'm unhappy, I'm tired, I'm anxious, and then you say, oh, but let me tell you about Jesus Christ who changed my life, right? It's hard to share it that way, right? But if you're someone who's positive, if you're someone who's uplifting to other people, then evangelism becomes much more tangible, And I think that's really important. And some of it's just changing your words. And I tell this to my patients all the time, my patients who are stressed and anxious and depressed. It doesn't mean lying to yourself. I don't mean, hey, if you're stressed, that doesn't mean lie and say you're not stressed, or if you're unhappy, lie and say you're happy. But some of you guys just use those words. And I'm not just saying you guys as in like picking on Oneness Church youth. Some people just say that all the time, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm anxious. And when they ask, I'm like, what are you stressed about? Why are you tired? You slept a lot. And some people, it just becomes a habit. So I think some of that is breaking that habit. And then the last thing is, when we talk about being a disciple, we talk about the field. The last thing is, and this is related to that anxiety and stress, is freedom from the worldly things, right? It says in Matthew 10:8-9, freely we receive the gospel, so freely we must give the gospel. And he specifically told the evangelist, do not take any gold or silver. So when you guys go and preach the gospel, he says, don't take anything from people, because you were given salvation freely, you should also give it freely. And I think that's very relevant. And there's a Bible verse that we talked about that's probably one of my favorite verses, probably top 5 favorite verses, Matthew 6:33, that says, if you seek the kingdom and righteousness first, so if you seek Jesus Christ first, if you seek being a disciple first, then it says everything will be provided for you. And I really, really take hold in that, because it's really easy to want money, want more money, to want better grades, to want a better job, to go to a better college, to have more degrees. It's easy to want those things. But it says in the Bible that if you seek after Christ and the kingdom and righteousness, then all that stuff will be given to you. And I really hold on to that because I think I struggle sometimes of wanting to be more successful, wanting to have more money, wanting to do bigger and better things. But I really have to take a step back and know that, God is greater than me. And if I seek after the kingdom and righteousness of God, then he's going to provide all those things for me. And I really hold on to that. And I want you guys to hold on to that too, as you guys, there's a lot of decisions to be made, right? Some of you going to high school, some of you going to college, some of you switching jobs, some of you starting a new program, some of you getting your master's degrees, some of you not sure which career you're going to take, some of you with your sports. So I really want you guys to hold on to that it says, if you seek after the kingdom and righteousness of God first, then everything will be provided to you. So I want us to hold on to this week, right? I think we're really talking a lot lately about being a disciple of Jesus Christ, about evangelism. And I want you guys to hold on to that throughout this week. And again, challenge yourself every week. How can I be an evangelist, right? How can I enjoy Christ first? How can I do these things? Because it says in Matthew 6:33 that if you do these things, then everything else you're worrying about, everything else you're stressed out about, relationships, school, finances, it says that everything else will be provided for you. So I'm going to close us in prayer. Then we'll do our individual kind of reflection time. Then we'll go to our small groups. Lord, we just thank you so much for this day and for Matthew, Lord, and the 12 disciples. Lord, we know that you have called us as disciples. I pray that you would continue to have us understand that is our identity. Lord, help us really enjoy the gospel so that we could preach the gospel to the field, and help us just be prepared and know that even if we don't have all the skills, Lord, that you can work through us and in us. And I also pray that we would know that you provide everything as long as we seek after the kingdom and righteousness first. Again, be with us. Keep everybody safe during this ongoing pandemic. All things, and I pray in your